Welcome to this week's featured interview. I'm your host, Christopher James, and this week we talk with Matt Gumm, the current comedian at Clay Cooper's Country Music Express. He's been in Branson almost the exact same amount of time as I have. We have a lot of things in common I learned through the podcast here, through the interview. We have a lot of the same personal interests and hobbies and just views on entertaining and comedy and so on. And I'm glad I finally got to sit down with Matt. We have crazy schedules. We both work kind of opposite schedules there, so it's been very difficult to get together. But I hope that I get to work with him quite a bit more here in the future. We had talked about some fun projects that we might be able to do. But in this episode, you'll get to know Matt personally, find out more about his upbringing, find out about how he got into comedy there, some of his philosophies of comedy. He's a little bit different than my comedy style. He likes to do the character work, a lot of skits, things like that, which is great. I can't do that. I just can't commit. I just always fall out of the character mode, which we'll talk about that in the interview here. But thanks for joining us again on Branson Talk.com. Think about it for a minute there. BransonTalk.com. Be sure to go to the website, BransonTalk.com, and you'll be able to find all of the interviews that we've done, over 200 of them. This is season 4. We have a ton of features on there, so please follow us. Follow us online at allthingsbranson.com, Facebook, All Things Branson, Twitter, at All Branson. You know the routine. You can read all this down below, but I'm not going to waste any time. Here's my interview with Matt Gumm.
No, I never did stand-up comedy. Have
you done comedy before? Have you ever tried?
I've never done comedy. No, I'm a comedian, but I don't even know what's funny. No, I wanted to do stand-up comedy. I really did. That's something that I've always wanted to try to do, and I don't know. I just never had.
It's completely different.
Yeah, it's totally different. I always wanted to get into doing, clubs and stuff like that, and hanging out with Paul Harris. Me and Paul, we worked on a lot of comedy together. We worked on the Cleverlys together, and
that's one of my favorite things to see.
Oh, that's awesome!
We have the poster. We have the Cleverly poster.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah. That's awesome. That was one of the working on that was one of the most creative things that I just loved it. It was I felt so creative at that time. Sitting and writing comedy with Paul and writing the songs and.
What was funny about the songs is I saw him at the Oak Ridge Boys Theater.
Yeah.
And half the crowd just didn't know what was going on. And my favorite part of it is that he commits to it being a separate character.
Yeah.
He's committed to it. And that is my favorite part. I love that. I've always wanted to do that in my show where I do these different, I'm not good at doing characters. You do a lot of characters, but I just can't commit to it.
Yeah, yeah.
And so I fall out of the character. But I always wanted to do a thing, and then at the end of the show, I have 2 different headshots and 2 different, to give away and stuff like that. But his Cleverly thing, I would listen to the audience later, and some of them are like, what is happening? We want Paul to come back out.
Yeah.
They just couldn't.
Oh, yeah. When we first started doing that at Clay's old theater, down the hill, across from Walmart,
the bubble thing.
Yeah, it's all torn down now. There's just the.
Oh no! Yeah, right next to it. I never.
Yeah. So but when we first started doing that, we only did it, as just a small segment of his show, but we did I remember we did the radio show over at Grand Country. And we were like, let's stay in character the whole time we go over there.
Yeah.
So we went over there and we stayed in character the whole time. We wouldn't talk to anybody backstage that we knew out of character. And it kind of frustrated some of the guys over there. They're like, I want to talk to Paul, or I want to.
Yeah. But see, that's what I love. Like when Jim Carrey, he has that documentary coming out of Jim and Andy.
Yes.
I love that. I love the Borat stuff.
Oh, yeah. My dad's a comedian. So I grew up, watching my dad, and my dad did some characters and stuff. So I think it kind of sprung from that, from watching him perform as a kid.
Lake of the Ozarks.
Lake of the Ozarks, yeah. That's a big tourist area up there, and so I grew up watching my dad do comedy, and And so he was kind of my big hero growing up, you know. And my mom sings in the show up there. And they're still working. My dad started doing, he was a singer originally, and they had a comedian at the show up there. And he was a little person.
Short.
Yeah, he was short. Anyway, he and my dad didn't get along, and they were doing this boxing routine.
What?
And
already I can see the issue.
Because my dad was the tallest person, they did this boxing routine where he would run under my dad's legs and run between his legs. And they got in a fight one night. I don't know, something happened. And this is before I was born, a long time ago. But as the story goes, my dad, he decided to get back at my dad. And when he went to run between my dad's legs, he didn't crouch.
Oh, that's nuts.
And he hit my dad and fell back. And at the time, the stage was like concrete. So when he fell back, he knocked himself out.
What?
And the MC at the time goes, "He's out. He's really out." But anyway, so after that, he quit, and they asked my dad to take over. And so my dad was kind of thrown into the comedy thing. And
have you performed anywhere else other than Lake of the Ozarks? And
no, I've just done. Well, I did my parents' show up at Lake of the Ozarks, and then I did another show that was a long running show. It was actually a lot of people don't know this, but that was actually the very first of the Branson style shows. It was called Lee Mace's Ozark Opry, and it was very country. And I that was kind of my really I started doing stuff with my dad. On my dad's show, I would do like the Christmas show, and then I would started doing a comedy bit here or there. But then I was 18. They asked me to. I had went to a semester at SMS or MSU, whatever you want to call it, and they offered me this job at the Ozark Opry, taking the place of a comedian that had been there for 36 years. He was, had a huge following.
He was a little person that got knocked out.
No, he was retiring, and they were big shoes to fill. Everybody knew Goofer, and were big fans. And so, being 18, I didn't know any better. So I took that job, and it was kind of my comedy college. I knew I wanted to do comedy. I studied theater at SMS, but I knew I wasn't going to really get into theater or musical theater. It interested me, and I thought it would help with comedy a little bit. It did some. Yeah. I think it helped in certain ways, But really going to take that job at the Ozark Opry, which was a really heavily comedy-based show. It was like song, comedy, song, comedy, song, comedy. So I got a lot of experience there doing that and trying to put my own stamp on it, because Goofer had he had his own style, which was that classic hillbilly comedy style stuff, and it was great. It was awesome, but I wanted to try to do something different, so I wasn't trying to take his place.
Right.
So I started doing characters and impressions, and I would try to there were so many comedy spots in the show. I was like, I'll do like a kind of a goofy magic act. I never did really magic. I would just do like some sort of thing where I would mess up a magic trick or something.
That's what I do every day.
Yeah.
So. I did a character like that. I did a ventriloquist that couldn't do ventriloquism. So what I did is we did a bit where the dummy was a nurse and I was a doctor and I wore a surgical mask.
Oh, that's awesome.
We were doing... So it worked out great.
Yeah.
I don't have a clue how to do it.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's about the only character I can think of.
Yeah.
Well, we do have one other character because I don't know if you're still doing it, like an old guy in the show. You still doing that?
Yeah, well, I'm not doing it this year. We kind of let it rest this year. And,
Yeah.
And along with Donald Trump, just kind of letting him like rest.
Really?
for the season. I'm not doing Trump this year. It's a little touchy. So we thought we'd let that rest. But no, I was doing I really did the old man character for the last, 8 years or 9 years.
But you were doing that, and I think you were doing the microphone stuff, like George Carl, sort of.
Yeah.
Which I love. That kind of slapstick. Slapstick is my favorite.
Yeah.
The problem with slapstick in our show is like when I was doing it with Cassandra, is she thinks she really hurts me, and she'll break her character.
Are you okay?
All the time. All the time. But I love doing slapstick because you can do it anywhere, right?
Yeah, you can. Yeah, that's one of my favorite things to do is the physical comedy stuff. Although I can tell I'm getting a little bit older these days. It's a little harder to do. But no, that's one of my favorite things. Like you said, you can do it anywhere. I just started doing cruise ships a couple years ago.
Do you like it?
Well, I'll have to say the first one that I got hired by this cruise ship company to do was like one of the craziest experiences because I had. Everybody that I had talked to that do cruises, and you probably know this, said, take everything that you need for the show in your carry-on bag.
Yeah.
Which I did. I had everything that I really needed, wigs and my old man mask and all that stuff. Yeah. To do my show, I put in that carry-on bag. Well, they were flying us to Puerto Vallarta. And we went to get on the plane, and they had ran out of. It was a small plane, so they ran out of space. So they checked my bag at the gate.
Yeah,
it wasn't. Sometimes they put a red tag on it, valet it.
Right.
Well, they actually checked it, and I didn't have, just not experienced. I didn't have my name on it or anything because I thought it was going to be with me. And so we get there and the bag doesn't show up. And it was like we panicked. It was me and my wife. We were panicking, trying to figure out, trying to find it for one thing. And it ended up just showing up.
In time?
Not in time. No, I didn't have it for the cruise. We were going around. We were walking around Mexico, going in the mall. We were staying in a hotel close to the mall, so we walked down to the mall and we're trying to buy wigs off.
I know the mall you're talking about.
We're trying to buy wigs off the mannequins and stuff. Asking the store owners and stuff, and they can't speak English and. They keep thinking we're asking if we want to buy the outfit that's on the and no, can we buy the wig? So anyway, we managed to pull it off. Luckily, the cruise ship, they had a bunch of wigs and things that they had. It was kind of their wig graveyard. They were old wigs that they let us just take and cut up and color. And
now, the times you've gone, have you gone with your wife every time?
Yeah.
See, I go by myself. It's a whole different thing.
Yeah. Well, this next time, since we have a 16-month-old, my wife isn't going with me on this next one. So it'll be a little different
Just
experience.
take her in the carry-on. Maybe they'll check her. Red tag.
Yeah. And I'm going to put my name all over everything this time.
Yeah, you know what I do? People laugh, but my suitcases I took a giant Sharpie and just wrote my name and phone number across all of my bags.
Oh, yeah. So. In case the tag falls off or whatever.
So, but cruise lines are a whole different thing. I mean, entirely different audience.
Oh, yeah, it is. You got people on there that have been drinking and totally different than the Branson audience.
Yeah. So when you were in high school, you were working in your dad's show then?
Yeah.
So what kind of group did you hang out with in high school? Were you?
Well, I was a theater person. I was kind of in the arts altogether. I was into painting and doing art class, and I was in band and everything but choir, basically. And so I did all the theatrical productions. I did a lot of the technical stuff, making sets and all that. So I kind of hung out with all the art people and the artsy people. Yeah. But yeah. And then I did my parents' show, but like I said, I wasn't doing a whole lot at that time until after high school.
Did you have a backup plan? What you wanted to do?
I for a while there, I was like, I didn't really know exactly. I was kind of interested in maybe becoming an actor and like a movie actor, but those are big dreams and of course I've always had like my biggest dream would be to be on SNL. Oh,
we have a lot in common. We really do. When I was in high school, I wrote a letter to Lorne Michaels.
Really? Oh,
yeah,
cool.
Several of them.
Yeah.
And one of them was, I'm doing this comedy, and wouldn't it be cool? Because I think what's his name, Anthony Michael Hall. I believe. Yeah. Is that his name?
Yeah.
Had been on the show and he wasn't on there anymore.
Yeah.
And I said, hey, remember you had like a high school kid? And like he forgot or something.
Yeah.
And so that was like my dream was to do that. And so we used to do little radio shows and record them on cassette back then. Oh, wow. And I would copy them and pass them out to everybody. And that's where this all came from. Yeah. It's just an extension of that radio show. Nobody listens to this.
Yeah. We were talking about characters. I think that's probably where that stemmed from, is watching Saturday Night Live so much and wanting to, like, if I'm not going to be on Saturday Night Live, I want to, I want to have that experience. So I had started coming up. Now that I really think about it, that's kind of where that all kind of stemmed from, is just my love for that show. And me and my wife went to New York a couple of years ago. It was 2012. Dana Carvey was hosting. And we were like, oh, wouldn't it be awesome to go to see SNL? And we were going to an off-Broadway show, and we walked by 30 Rock, and of course I got chills and like freaking out. And it was really cold. It was snowing a little bit, really cold that night. So the line wasn't that long outside. They have the standby line for tickets. You get your standby ticket. You don't know if you get to go in to watch it until that night. You have to go, you stand in the order that you were in, and then they go through and count the empty seats that they have in the theater. I think it helped that it was snowing and the weather was not great, but they
you got in.
They got us in.
Yeah.
We got to walk in and just
and it was Dana Carvey.
It was Dana Carvey, and they started out with Wayne's World, and they did Church Lady, and it was like,
have you watched the documentary about that?
Yes.
How Could It Fail, or what was that?
Yeah.
Too Good to Fail.
Too Good to Fail, yeah.
I watched it the other night.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It's awesome, yeah.
No, he really screwed that up, didn't he?
I know, yeah. Well, I know that the cast that he had on the Dana Carvey show was just unbelievable. The
Louis
writers
C.K.
and stuff. Stephen Colbert and Steve Carell.
And he still screwed it up 7 episodes
I
ago.
know. A little bit too...
But he was determined. If anybody out there watches it, like he had a mindset that he wanted to be like revolutionary, and basically to shock people.
Yeah, exactly.
And the producers or the NBC people, whoever, were like, no, don't do that.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, I know better.
Yeah,
I know better than you.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people that come here to Branson, they do that same thing. I'm going to do this material, no matter what.
Yeah.
And when I first came, I kind of did that. I had a set. you know, that worked for me when I was working in New York.
Yeah.
And I thought, it's going to work. Like, the people will just grow to like it. I changed it within a week. It's an entirely different thing.
Yeah. Yeah, Paul was the same. You know, Paul, you know, he was like determined to, you know, I'm going to do the material that I like, you know, this stand-up material. And people, you know, he had people, and he's living in Nashville now. And I'm so proud of him for you know, stepping out there and you know, working on that, working on his career and stuff, you know. But yeah, you know, he was of course successful in this town, but he always had those people that were like, you know, where's your Cousin Otto character?
Yeah.
And where's your old stuff that you used to do, your hillbilly characters, and your, you know. And he was just like, I've grown, you know. Grow with me, everyone.
One of my pet peeves is here, I get a lot of people that come out after the show and they want to know what else you do. Like, what other jobs do you have? What?
Oh, yeah.
You ever get that? Like, people,
Yeah.
I don't know what to tell them. I get like a little insulted.
Yeah, I know it.
So what's your real job?
Yeah, what's your real job? Yeah. And actually up at where I'm from, up at Lake of the Ozarks, the season is so short up there. That's the reason why I moved down here, because I wanted to make this a career, doing shows and being a comedian, performing. But up there, the season's so short that a lot of those people, and I did too, we all had second jobs.
Yeah, it depends, I guess. But still, I think people here can't accept the fact that you do entertainment.
Yeah.
You know, for a living. My parents can't accept it. You're lucky. Like, you had support. Like, a lot of people I know, like, their parents wanted them to do something else, anything else.
Anything else, yeah. Actually, my parents, when I went to college, my parents were like, you know, you don't have to go.
Really?
Yeah. You know, I think they knew that I had the bug that I wanted to do comedy, and so, I mean, not that they were trying to dissuade me from going to college completely, but they were just like, you know, if you're not happy doing it, don't, you know,
that's kind of how I feel about college now.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. I think a lot of people do. They've kind of changed a little bit, but, not that I'm going to, my wife went to college, so she's the smart one of the two.
Is she paying all that money to go to college?
She's got all the education and stuff, and she kind of keeps me organized and stuff. So
yeah.
She always says you're the unorganized creative one. I'm the organized.
But aren't unorganized people usually the more creative ones?
I think so. I've
read a lot of things. You listen to a ton of podcasts, which I do, and they're constantly saying that. I mean, look at this room. This guy's a genius. He's got to be.
Yeah, exactly.
Look at this. But I also get people that come up and they want to know, so where do you want to go from here? Like, to them, Branson is a stepping stone.
Oh, yeah. You
know, but I'm happy here.
I know, I am too. Yeah, there was a time where I was always, thinking about, like, you know, at least, like, you know, do I want to aspire to have my own show? Or
would you do that?
I don't think so.
I don't think I would either.
I don't really. I'm really happy with where I'm at, and, you know, being able to support my family, and just, you know, I'm just happy with that, you know.
You have your own show, you have the stress of it. You know, I talk to a lot of people that have their own show and they have to run the concession stands and clean up afterwards and do their own marketing. We just show up.
Yeah, right? Exactly.
Let Clay and them worry about all of that.
Yeah, exactly. You know, I saw my parents go through all that too, and just stresses and you know, hitting rough. You know, when the big Branson boom happened, their business, you know, it wasn't as big as it used to be. They didn't draw as many buses as they used to, because all the buses were coming down here. And so, you know, watching them stress and go through all that, I was like, you know, boy, you know, having your own show is
it's too much. I've had a few times, because you've been here about the same length I have, I think.
Yeah,
I'm getting ready to do my 13th season.
Yeah.
So, but every once in a while, somebody comes to me and kind of asks me to do my own show, and I say I don't think it would work. Like even the big names. I mean, you can't get much bigger than Andy Williams that was here, right? And he didn't do his own show. He did the Andy Williams variety show.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so whenever I see people that decide to leave the show that they've been doing for years and do their own show, I just know they're not going to be around very long. Like, I know. Very rare cases.
Yeah. You have to really be smart about it and stuff. I look at Clay and the way he started out. We started out in that small theater, which, I don't think any other show ever survived in that little theater over there.
I think that's where I first saw the show.
Yeah. That theater was it was kind of like just one of those, cursed theaters that every show that went in there. And I don't know what all was in there before us, but I know there were a lot of shows that were in and then didn't make it. But Clay started out on a smaller budget, and we he just focused on having a great show. But
it wasn't just him in the show.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Like when it's somebody that it's just them.
Yeah, exactly.
Branson wants variety. Like the people want to go and see almost every show that's successful has comedy, right?
Yeah.
I think we're in a pretty good position.
Yeah, exactly.
Here, because almost every show has some sort of comedy in it that's successful.
Yeah.
And if it's just one person doing the show, it just doesn't.
Yeah, I know.
I don't know. You have to. Oh, it's just too much stress.
Yeah.
I have too fragile of an ego. And I have too low a self-esteem. My grandma said it was normal in losers like me.
Yeah.
So I just couldn't handle it.
Yeah.
Do you read reviews?
I do. I get on TripAdvisor sometimes, but I try. It's funny how you read lots of good reviews, so many good reviews, and then you just that one sticks out really.
Because I have all the bad reviews that you've had. So,
here's a list right here.
Get this out.
Oh no!
But sometimes with the people, what I do is I'm the same way. Like the bad one will stand out, but then I click on their little username and I look at all of the things they've complained about. I'm like, all right, these people complain about everything.
They're just on here just to not like anything.
But you almost have to read them. I mean, because I need to see if somebody's complaining about the same thing over and over and over.
Yeah,
again.
exactly. But I mean, it's definitely again, we listen to a lot of podcasts and stuff, and I hear so many stories, and this because you worked clubs and stuff, and growing up doing these Branson style shows, I have been blessed as far as not getting the hecklers and the just dying. I mean, there are shows that we have in this town where the crowd is dead, and we have those shows where the audience just doesn't respond, but it's probably either the weather or they're worn out.
Oh, they've tried working on a boat.
Exactly.
We didn't cruise, or they didn't like the food, or it could be anything. It's too cold in here. They had to walk down. That really.
But I did Trump last year. I did Donald Trump, and so there was constantly. I knew eventually there was going to be somebody offended by it. Although I really tried to keep it pretty even keel. I didn't really. I started out the year doing this whole routine that where I was basically I had filmed myself doing Hillary and Bernie and Ted Cruz and all the candidates and I was basically doing kind of a debate thing with the people on the video. I had worked out this whole routine and after everybody else was gone, it was just Donald Trump and Hillary. I thought, well, this isn't going to work anymore with doing this routine. So I just went to basically doing my tire pump routine along with a few jokes, just general political jokes, but that were lighthearted, nothing.
I don't do anything.
No stabs or anything. I didn't want to offend anybody. I knew I was treading on light water. So
constantly though, I get people that come out and want to tell me a joke.
Oh yeah,
you know how it is.
Oh yeah,
and so they come out and want to tell you a joke, and I say, well, I don't usually like it when people do that because 9 times out of 10, it's not a joke you can tell.
No.
Right. Which is funny because the audiences want like super clean comedy, but then they tell you the most offensive thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And so I always say, well, no religion and no politics. I do no religion, no politics.
Yeah.
And the guy a couple weeks ago said, well, Hillary Clinton is. And I go, I just said, well, she's not a politician. She's a crook. That's what he said to me. And I'm like, oh, here we go.
No.
Well, she meets a Muslim. I'm like, what is wrong with? And we had to stop it right away.
Yeah.
You can never tell those jokes.
Yeah, I know it. Yeah, it is hilarious though. Yeah, people come up and say, I've got one for you, and they...
Have you ever heard one that you could use?
I don't think so.
No. No, I never have.
Yeah,
but you still have to smile and you still have to laugh.
Yeah. You got to do
You got to do your thing.
Yeah.
But you're lucky because your show has a lot of comedy in it because Clay, he tries.
Yeah.
I like to come and watch him try.
Yeah. He puts a lot of effort into it. No, he does. He does a great job at working. I know you do a lot of stuff with the audience and stuff. And he does a great job playing off of the audience. I really don't have that skill set or that gift working off of the audience that well, and so I think it's a great balance that me and Clay share as far as. He does a lot of the audience.
See, I have to. Stuff. I can't believe that you.
I know.
See, to me, that's weird. Like, I can't do the opposite. I used to have like a silent act that I did that was slapstick. Yeah. And I felt silly doing it. Yeah. And so I had to stop and interact with the audience. Yeah.
I started doing some stuff on when I do my one-man shows and things where I would, pick somebody and do some jokes with them and stuff, involve them in the jokes and stuff. But overall, I just haven't had that much experience. Clay does it here, and I've always wanted to work on that.
We'll be back in just a couple minutes with my interview with Matt Gumm. I just want to remind you to take some time to check out bransontalk.com. You will see all kinds of interviews that I've done with every type of person you can imagine in this area. Learn some things about Branson, Missouri, from business to entertainment to social activities going on. Figureheads in the community. So please be sure to check out bransontalk.com. But we're going to go back to my interview with Matt Gumm. When Club 57 was open, I was talking with Dean Z. Elvis. I don't know. Do you know who Elvis is? But we were looking at doing just that. He wanted me to host. I'd be the MC. Yeah. And then I'd have a local comedian that would do their original material, and then I would bring in one of my friends from cruise ships or something. It's be cool. The other act. And so I thought it was a great idea.
Yeah, so that's awesome.
We should do that.
I know. I miss Club 57. That was I played drums with the Gimps. With Dean Z and the Gimps. Yeah. And so
I remember that.
Yeah. So that was fun playing.
That was a great club. It was perfect for comedy too.
Yeah. I remember when Bob Anderson was down there doing shows for a while.
It's the first time I saw him.
Yeah. And he it was a great venue for that. And we don't have. We were talking about it the other night. There's not a whole lot of places in Branson anymore to see music or just to go out and see.
It's not a show.
Band. It's not a show.
Like when the Gimps used to play and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. So
I know. Anyway. What do you miss in Branson? What's changed?
Oh,
you've been here about as long as I have, and there's.
I feel like that's one of the things that's changed a lot. It's kind of interesting, with all there's not as many big name, Nashville. Right. There's a few, but with Andy Williams being gone, and you see a lot of entertainers not being here year round, at least, that's changed a lot. So there's a lot more, I think, opportunity for other shows.
Yeah, a lot of shorter runs for shows that come in. And I think a lot more like amusement attractions by far.
Exactly. Oh, absolutely. How many zip lines can we get?
No, but this is Branson. If one thing works, 5 more of the exact same thing will be better.
Zip lines and coast little mountain coasters.
But see, I feel bad about that because I think certain people that I work with, they have a great idea. They see it somewhere else, like a mountain coaster.
Yeah.
It's not original to the country. But they bring it here, and then that's a success. So a year later, somebody else comes in and opens up a smaller they just open up.
Yeah.
Do something original. There's so many other things. Yeah. I want indoor skydiving, and
I do too.
I want a flow rider. You ever do that when you're cruising?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh man, yeah, absolutely.
So many things to do. No originality.
I know.
It kind of bothers me. But.
Yeah. There's so many things, for the families and stuff. You can tell that Branson's really trying to draw more families and stuff, which is neat. I love that we're bringing in more families. I just I hope that they're still going to shows.
I know,
because it seems like there's times where you can't get down the strip. It's bumper to bumper. The town's packed, but our crowd is not. We're not selling out. I'm like, where are these people? They're coming from Silver Dollar City and they're going to the Ferris wheel and to Andy's and going back.
But
to the
do you
hotel.
really think? I don't think that is taking away from shows. I don't think somebody would come to town and say, "Hey, instead of seeing a 2-hour show, let's go ride a Ferris wheel."
Yeah,
what I mean. I think it gives people something to do in between.
Oh, absolutely.
I think it's all good.
Yeah, no, I think that if it's hurting that business, the show business at all, it's maybe taking them away from the shows one less night, maybe.
Right. I think the worst thing.
But I think it's drawing more people and more families to town too. So it's kind of a half and half.
I think the worst thing that could happen is the gambling.
Yeah.
Like people are always pushing for that. I don't think they look at the long term.
Yeah.
Because two things. Branson would become a second-rate or fifth-rate Vegas, behind Atlantic City and all these things.
Yeah, exactly.
How are you going to compete against that? And number two, instantly, I think the bigger names would come in, like your Caesars. They would want to open up ballets.
Absolutely.
And then they're going to bring in their own acts, and it would destroy the local feel to Branson.
Exactly. And I think people would they would get their room wherever they're going to gamble and see their show, and they kind of stay in.
They're going to stay there, just like you do in Vegas. You're going to start getting these bigger and bigger hotels. Like all of the little stuff would be gone.
Yeah, exactly.
And it still wouldn't be as good as Vegas.
In Vegas, I know it. I know. Yeah, I totally agree with you.
Yeah, let's not do that. So people don't do that. All right, so Matt Gumm.
Yes.
All right, let's talk about your last name first of all. Do people give you a hard time when you're in school? Do they?
Well, I
nicknames
think
or anything?
I was born to be a comedian with the last name Gumm.
Yeah, seriously.
I don't have to come up with some kind of goofy name for my.
You could do so many puns
character.
and stuff with that. I was thinking of some on the way here. Most of them were not appropriate. So.
Yeah.
But when you think of the word successful, who's the first person that comes to mind and why?
Well, I think it's you have to define success. I think when I was younger, I would define success as being famous and having fame and money and all that stuff, and somebody that I always looked up to was Steve Martin.
Oh yeah.
When he was when he was doing stand up. And
have you read his book?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Born Standing Up. Oh, it's awesome.
It is.
If you haven't read Born Standing Up, read it. It's awesome.
Really good.
It's really, really
just
good.
For life in general.
Yeah, absolutely.
Once he reached that certain point, he told himself, where else can I go from here?
Yeah, exactly.
And so he just stopped doing stand-up.
Yeah. So I think he's one of the people that I look up to as far as success. But as I've gotten older, I look at successful as being, being able to do what you love to do and still spend time with my family, getting to spend time with my daughter, and I have another baby on the way. It's going to be born in June. And anyway, so having a family and still getting to do, and not to sound like I'm sucking up at all, but I look at somebody like Clay. Clay's started this business, and it's because I watched it grow from that small theater to this awesome theater that we're in now, and the show that we have, and he's still able to spend time with his family and do what he loves with his family.
Yeah.
And I think that's just great.
It's not weird that you're wearing a Clay Cooper shirt and stuff.
Yeah,
right
exactly.
Now.
I know. And a hat, and I'm holding a picture.
Yeah. Is it the one him flexing on the bus?
Yeah, that's right.
That's the one.
Yeah. Right. He's my screensaver on my computer.
That's
too.
good. So, Matt, what is something that you believe that other people think is insane?
Oh, goodness. Well, I don't know. That's a hard question. But, I mean, right offhand, I always have people, when I'm doing my physical comedy stuff, this may be kind of off what you're asking, but when I do all my physical comedy, I always have people saying, you wear me out just watching you, and as I'm getting older, I am getting worn out a lot faster.
Yeah, right.
But I feel like, I don't know, doing physical comedy is something that I think other people think that I'm crazy to do, and I'm going to, break something.
But you know how to do it. That's what they don't understand. There's an art to it.
There is
to make it look like you got hit or you fell. And
exactly. And you fall off stage or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's something that offhand that I can think of that other people.
Do you work out to stay in shape for that? Because you look like you do.
I'd like to. I used to.
You should. You should work out. Then you can have your picture on the back of a bus.
I know, exactly, flexing.
So, Matt, what is the book or books that you've given out as a gift? Do you ever give gifts? Do you give gifts to people? Are you a greedy person?
I'm really greedy. I like to receive books. No, I don't give out a whole lot of books, but we were talking about Born Standing Up.
Yeah.
That actually has my favorite book. It's just
Steve Martin.
Steve Martin's autobiography, and yeah, it's great. And I don't know if you've listened to the book on tape, but it's him reading it.
Yeah,
and
that's how I do all my books because I'm in the car all the time.
Yeah,
so
exactly. That's
I have to.
Too. Yeah, me and Paul Harris, we've listened to that multiple times driving to Nashville and back. That's like our go-to.
See, that's a good one. And then along those same lines, Bob Newhart has one out. I don't know if you've checked that out, but he's like an idol of mine.
Oh, yeah.
I just think he's
Absolutely.
hysterical.
Yeah.
Don Rickles and all them.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I love those kinds of books that give a little insight, not just, he doesn't give advice in Born Standing Up as to how to get into business. He just talks about what it was like. Yeah, and so you learn so much.
I heard an interview with him talking about when he was getting ready to start that, he had just saw Jersey Boys, and that was really big on Broadway at that time. And he was like, people don't care about what happens to you after you're successful. They care about what happened, how you got successful.
Yeah, right.
And so I think that's really cool. That's what inspired him to write that book.
Yeah. Have you ever done the master classes online?
I actually have his master
class.
Do you?
Have you watched it?
Yeah.
Because I have it, but I haven't watched it yet. And it came out like in March or something.
Oh, it's awesome. It's really that's the only one that I have. It's really
Is
good.
It? Yeah. I'll have to do it. I'm constantly in the car thinking I should start that master class. Yeah. Steve Martin is so smart.
Oh, I know. Yeah, and the way he writes is, the way that book is, it explains and describes the things that he was seeing and San Francisco and California, New York, all these.
And where he got some of his ideas with like the talks about the arrow and like all that. Yeah, it's just crazy.
Our drummer on the show here, he played with Eddie Rabbit for years and years, name drop. But he got to see Steve Martin in his early days when he would bring people after the show. He would go out in the audience or go outside of the club and would do another 20 or 30 minutes
just out there,
standing outside on the sidewalk. And then he said he would get in the cab and he'd go around the block and keep coming around,
What?
And that
would be amazing. Yeah. He tours now, playing the banjo.
Yeah, actually, I saw him perform with Martin Short earlier this year. It was great. It was up in St. Louis.
But Born Standing Up, you recommend that as your book?
Absolutely.
Well, there you go. Check it out. And at least all this other stuff.
Yeah.
So, Matt, What is your favorite documentary or movie? What do you like to watch?
Oh boy, there's so many. I'm a big documentary watcher, as I am podcasts.
Yeah,
but
I've run out of documentaries.
I know. I think I've watched everything on Netflix and Amazon, and but yeah, I love comedy documentaries or show business documentaries. The documentary on Don Rickles, the documentary on Johnny Carson.
That one is brilliant to me.
It's awesome. The King of Comedy.
Yeah.
Amazing documentary. There's a documentary. I haven't been able to find it. It was on Hulu, but it's called Saturday Night. And it was made by James Franco, and he followed the cast around a few years ago of Saturday Night Live, and basically just kind of took them through the whole week of what they go through. I think I did see
that. I kind of remember.
And it's incredible. It really makes you appreciate, even when skits don't work on Saturday Night Live, the work that has gone into them writing 50 sketches each week.
Yeah. 10 of them get on.
Yeah, 10 of them make it, Yeah. But yeah, that one's great. And then,
I think there's one called Heckled as well.
Yes.
Have you seen that?
Heckled,
I think, is that, yeah.
Yeah. Misery Loves Comedy. There's some, really, really great documentaries. I'm also weirdly, I think because we're in the funny business, I like kind of unsolved mysteries kind of shows, the Making a Murderer.
Have you watched Lore?
No, I haven't.
You gotta watch it. It's on Amazon.
I'll have to check that out.
And it's kind of along those lines, but they're real life ones.
Yeah.
And so they will tell you this whole story.
Yeah.
And then at the end, and they will reveal, well, this is why we had the witch or the vampire scare of the 1880s in New Hampshire.
Wow. That's cool.
So it all comes around. They're very creepy. Cool. I'll watch one and then I'm afraid to walk upstairs from my house. I refuse to look out a window because I just know somebody's looking in my window.
It's me.
But no,
I'll be out there.
Yeah, you know what? I had that problem when I was dating. Women always said they love a guy with a good sense of humor, but you show up dressed as a clown at 2:00 in the morning with balloons, and it's all police reports and screaming. But there's so many documentaries that I watch, and I've run out of them. Like I literally started watching some that have nothing to do with me, and are not of any interest to me whatsoever.
Yeah. Well, the HBO's got a lot of great documentaries too. They've got their whole documentary series, The Jinx, and they just came out with a Spielberg documentary.
That's good. Did you watch it?
I love all kind of the back. Besides documentaries, I like anytime I watch a movie, I've got to watch the behind the scenes stuff.
I'm on IMDb as I watch the movie.
Yeah,
I'm
exactly.
telling my wife all of the all of the little secret things.
Yeah. Did you know that? I am too. I'm constantly on IMDb. Where did I see that person from? I can't remember.
Usually I prefer the extras on a movie.
I do too.
Than watching the movie, or I just watch them with the directors where they do the commentary.
The commentary,
because I love the process of it.
I know. My wife does not understand that at all. She can't figure out why I like the commentary, and I love it. Especially if I love the movie, I'll go back and listen to the commentary. And
no one around me understands. You know what they don't understand either is I love spoilers. I want to know the story of the movie.
Yeah.
And then I like to see how they got to that. You know, I know that in this upcoming Star Wars, this is predicted to happen here. And people are like, oh, no, you're going to ruin the movie. No, it's not ruining it to me.
Yeah, exactly. Because you might be surprised. You might go watch it and it might be something close to that.
But just to see the storytelling of how they get there.
Yeah.
I enjoy the process of things. That's I used to be addicted to that show, I guess that's a documentary of how it's made. How is it made?
Oh, yeah.
And I used to be in the noon show at the Showboat, and I could get home just in time to catch that on TV. And I would sit there and watch 30 minutes on how a golf ball is made or something. I don't golf. But I'm like, what in the world? How did they figure that stuff out?
I know. That's one of my shows too, is the How It's Made. And the other one, the Stuff You Didn't Know, or
Stuff You Should Know, the podcast.
Yeah,
I do that too. And I listen to things and I'm like, what in the world? I go into work all the time. I'm like, you guys guys will never believe
exactly.
what this means. And they're like, why are you listening to that stuff?
That's awesome.
I have to.
Yeah. Also, I'm a big kind of tech nerd, and there's a great documentary called Side by Side that Keanu Reeves made. And it's all about the transfer from film, from the actual film, using film for movies, to the digital cameras, and the transition between the two, and how some directors prefer film over digital over film. Anyway, I'm a techie kind of nerd.
Yeah, me too.
Nerdy guy. So
yeah, that's people. I think they're missing so much. Like, I want to know all of it. How did they do that special effect? Like, I'll see something and I'll go and look it up, like in a movie, and immediately I'll look up the behind the scenes on how did they make Spider-Man do that?
I know.
But well,
so cool.
Good. So you have a ton of documentaries then that you recommend. I like the food ones too, by the way.
Oh yeah, I do too. The Chef's Table on
well, just all of them Netflix. That show you how America's being poisoned by sugar, and now I can't handle it.
You can't eat anything anymore.
Yeah, but some of them are very scary when you find out about the sugar industry and how they control so much here. Yeah. And I always point this out to people, and you can look on these bottles that are all over the place. Only in America, when they have the nutritional facts, does it not tell you the percentage of sugar you're eating? Yeah. Only in America. Yeah. Every other country I travel to shows you you're eating 8% or whatever.
Really? Wow.
And it's because the sugar lobby was giving a lot of money for education and such in the 80s, and then again in 2005 or something. And they were going to pull all that money if they started putting that on the labels.
Wow. Yeah, I think I've seen that documentary too. It's interesting.
Fed Up, or I think it might be what it is.
Yeah.
So, check it out. There's scary stuff out there.
Every morning I get up and I was like, I always wake up in the morning and
That's good.
I do wake up. And I wake up early before my wife and my baby get up. And so that's my time. I watch a documentary or something.
Well, I have the perfect thing for you. Since you like to do it in the car and all that stuff, listen to things. Have you ever done Blinks?
No.
It's brand new. In fact, I was listening to one waiting to come in here.
Oh, really?
And there's an app, and it's called Blinks, or the Blinkist. And what it is they take educational books on certain subjects, from self-esteem to finance to... which one did I listen to? Lying. The one I just listened to was The Science of Lying. And they condense it down to less than 10 minutes.
Wow.
So they're called Blinks. And then at the end, they break it down. If you want to learn more about this topic, read these chapters in the book. And so they break it down so that you can get through. So every morning I blink.
Oh,
I listen to a blink every morning as I'm getting ready.
I'm going to download
Look it up. It's like mini little documentaries.
Yeah, so that's so cool.
Change your life.
Yeah, absolutely.
There you go. So, Matt Gumm.
Yes.
Hey there.
Hey.
What is a skill that people might be surprised that you have that you don't use in your daily professional life? So they might not have seen it on stage or...
Yeah. Well, I do a lot of graphic design. I do a lot for the theater, for different people that'll approach me about doing their CD artwork.
Yeah.
Or, and I kind of got into that, messing around with Photoshop and some of those programs when I was younger, just again, just being a little...
Did you take a class or anything?
No, I never took a class. It's all self-taught, just messing around with programs and learning it, and then being with different shows in the past that didn't have like a big budget for advertising and stuff. So I thought, I'll help out. I'll make some ads.
I do the same thing on the side. I make logos and stuff for people.
Oh, cool.
It's for that same reason.
Yeah.
But basically it came down to I couldn't afford to have somebody make mine.
Yeah.
So I watched YouTube videos and figured out how to do it myself.
Yeah, that's exactly. Yeah, I just kind of started working on it, and eventually I got good enough. I mean, I'm not trying to sound like I'm not a professional by any means. But I'm good enough that I could kind of help out and make that. It's kind of a part-time little side business.
I think it's fun
doing that stuff,
unless I'm hired by somebody
yeah.
to do it. Because then it becomes a job.
Yeah, then you're required.
It's just like our videos we do. I work for the Vacation Channel, and so I have the Kids Connection. When I first turned in the episodes, they said, "Who did all of the graphics and the lower thirds and the animation?" I said, "Well, I did it all."
Yeah, yeah.
And they're like, "Oh, well, we should have you do such and such." But then the people have input.
Yeah.
Then it's a whole different thing.
Yeah, yeah.
When I just do it for some, every once in a while I'll say, "Hey, I have an idea for a logo. I'm just going to, if you don't mind, I'll just make it for you." Or I'll just hand a friend of mine something and say, "Hey, I just thought this looked cool. It reminded me of your show."
Yeah, that's cool.
Great. But I've had people hire me and I just hate it. I hate it. Like every time I regret that decision. So that's neat.
And video editing too. Made a lot of little promos and things
I love
like
editing.
That. So it's just fun.
So I'm going to take this and re-edit this whole thing and make you sound.
Just take sound bites.
Yeah, one word here and there. So change the whole thing. Well, that's good. So do you have like a separate company that you do of your own, or just doing it on the side?
No, it's just me at home. In my spare time. Now that I have a daughter, it's a little bit harder to do. I'm daddy most of the time now, so it's a little bit harder to find time to do that. But I enjoy it. It's just kind of a creative outlet to get to do something creative that I enjoy
and use that art that you did in school and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah,
I loved Warhol and Liechtenstein. I grew up near Pittsburgh, so I'd go to the Warhol museums all the time and all
cool.
that. So
yeah, that's something that we always do. My wife, again, bless her for she's not a big museum person, but she will go to, when we go to Chicago or whatever, she'll go, or New York, she'll go with me to the art museums.
Yeah.
I want to go to MoMA and see the art museum in New York, and she'll go even though she doesn't enjoy it.
See, it used to blow my mind. I don't know if you ever heard of Andy Williams.
Yeah.
But he was here in town. And he had his restaurant, which I thought was amazing. I ate there all the time. It was just really good. It was a cool atmosphere. But he had Warhols like hanging all over the place.
I know, yeah.
And I would take somebody there when I was dating and say, that's a Andy Warhol. Like, that's a real.
Yeah.
It's not a print.
It's not a print.
Yeah, that's a real Andy Warhol. And she's like, well, whatever. I'm like, no, you're eating your, chicken nuggets or whatever they would get.
Yeah.
Below, like, the Campbell's soup can. Do you not realize?
Yeah.
And it would frustrate me beyond belief. So, so I couldn't handle it anymore. But he just had them hanging up. And I saw an interview or something with him where he said, he had all those at his house or in his dressing room or whatever, and he wanted to hang them up so other people could see it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I know. That was really cool. That was a neat place to go, and
I miss it.
Yeah, it's kind of like you don't get enough culture and stuff around here, so it was nice to get a little taste of that.
Perfect. So, hey, Matt, it's been fun. It's been a great time talking with you. I've been trying to talk with you for years, but our schedules are like crazy.
They are crazy.
Yeah. So it's been a lot of fun. People can come and see you at the Clay Cooper show. You still gonna do that?
Yeah. I'm still. I'll be sticking around here forever.
Oh, you think so? Clay's out here to talk to you in a few minutes.
Yeah.
So there's been some changes in the show.
I didn't get the memo. Oh no.
Yeah. But do you have a website and stuff for people?
I do. It's mattgumm.com, and
that's creative.
I try. Yeah. I worked really hard on that, but I try to stay up on that, and also Facebook and
you do the Twitter and all that. Stuff. Do you do Instagram and?
I do. I've got an Instagram page.
I never quite understand.
It's mostly just baby pictures of my daughter.
Just of random babies.
Yeah, random. Yeah,
that's not creepy at all.
If I see a baby, I'll take a picture and put it on my Instagram. No, it's a lot of pictures of my daughter growing up and stuff. So
there you go.
So that's mostly my Instagram page. But yeah, my Facebook and
Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all that stuff.
Yeah,
so
all that stuff.
There you go. Well, thanks a lot for talking with us, and I'll have you back on sometime. We'll
Absolutely,
do something fun.
I'd love to anytime.
Great.
Seriously.
Thanks for listening to my interview with Matt Gumm here at Branson Talk. Follow us online at All Things Branson on Facebook there. And be sure to check out all the other podcasts at bransontalk.com. In the meantime, just be nice to one another out there. Have fun. Go see the show at the Clay Cooper Theater and tell Matt that you listened to his interview there. And maybe suggest down below as to who we should interview next. We're trying to get all of the top people in Branson to be part of our podcast. This is season 4. I can't believe I've been doing this. We're going on 4 years now. That's crazy to me. But anyways, thanks for listening. I'm your host, Christopher James. Bye-bye.